Mr. Calloway is a very cautious man. Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't see you there. The Peugeot 504 Cabriolet. Is this the best looking car of the 1970s? Maybe. But is it any good? Should you care? Let's find out, shall we? Peugeot, on y va!
Here we are with anchors tying us to what we'll call home, even if the sight of it has not yet touched our eyes. And here we are and we're together, even if we are apart. And we're together when we're together, something big is happening among us. It's not as if we don't have to deal with our shortcomings. It's not as if we don't have to wipe away the tears.
So welcome to another episode of Tweed Jacket Reviews, and this very fine 1973 Peugeot 504 Cabriolet. It's been supplied by Jim, who has a very large collection of cars near Southampton, some of which we have already had on my channel. So thanks, Jim. Fim. Before we get into more detail about this lovely old French car, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel, like this video and leave a comment below. It really helps us out and allows us to spread the love of tweed jackets all over the internet. So last time we filmed this car, yes, this is the second time we filmed this car, it was running really badly, and so you'll notice that I am wearing probably slightly different clothes, and it is actually a month after the last time we filmed it, so the driving footage is from a completely different day from the rest of it, so I do apologise. Anyway, the 504 Cabriolet and Coupe were introduced in 1969. They came out a year after the standard 504 saloon, and first of all they had a 1.8 litre engine with fuel injection. You could get the engine without fuel injection in some of the other 504s, but the 4-cylinder engines in the Coupe and Cabriolet were always fuel injected, and that produced about 96 horsepower. After a year or so, the engine was up to 2 litres, and that produced 103 horsepower. For some reason though, Peugeot decided that the fuel crisis was the best time to launch the V6 engine in the Coupe and Cabriolet. And so in 1974, they dropped the 4-cylinder option and replaced it with a V6 with 134 horsepower. Now, unsurprisingly, a lot of people kind of said, that's not really what we want at the moment. We kind of need a bit of a more economical engine at the time of the global fuel crisis and really high oil prices. So in 1977, for the 78 model year, they reintroduced the 4-cylinder Coupe and Cabriolet. And around the same time, they changed the V6 engine. It had been running on a carb, and for the Coupe only, they changed it to fuel injection, and it produced, I think, about 142 horsepower. 504 itself is a very interesting car. It kind of became all things to all men. The saloons in the States, particularly the huge Familial version, they got up to I think 8 seats, were very rugged, reliable cars for the average everyday motorist all over the world. Variants of the 504 were actually made in some countries until 2005. That wasn't the case though with the Coupe and the convertible. They only last till 83. This particular car is actually a conversion. It was converted in the 1970s by a British company called Hodak, because the factory never offered a coupe or cabriolet, cabriolet in particular, in right-hand drive. So all the ones you see in right-hand drive in this country, they've either been converted by Hodak. I think Hodak stopped converting them in about the time that they changed from the 4-cylinder to the V6 engine, about 1974. So those were the last of the Hodak ones. But there are a few later ones, and I've seen one from about 1978 that were converted privately. Gosh, it's loud around here. There's all sorts of tree felling and construction and all that kind of stuff going on. So yeah, this is a very rare car indeed to drive when it's actually running properly and not backfiring like it was last time I drove it. And you'll see references to that clearly in the other footage we have. It's okay. I don't even think though you get to 60 in under 10 seconds in this. The 4-speed manual in this car is okay. The throw is quite long. Pedals are slightly weird, but they're not as weird as say look like the E-Type that Jim also has. You would have seen that on Tweed jacket reviews before. The car does flex quite a lot. I mean, it's an old convertible, so of course it does. The drive position is quite comfortable. I feel like, you know, we could necessarily, because of this being a French car, get down to Cannes and cruise the Croisette in this. It would be fantastic doing that, rather than February near Southampton, which is what we're doing today. But nevertheless, it is a fun car, this. I don't know if I'd prefer the V6 engine. They kind of do have their problems, those old PRVs. I think it was around 2.7 litres in capacity from memory. So yeah, steering is okay. I think it's power assisted in this car actually. Not all the 504s got power steering, but I think the coupe and the convertibles did get it. And you know, once your engine's running properly, and the Kugelfischer fuel injection system is actually notorious for issues like the one that we had, which has been solved by changing the thermostat. Once your engine's running properly, then yeah, there's no reason why you can't enjoy yourself. I'm enjoying myself very much indeed. It's very strange for an old French car though to have the indicator on the right hand side. I do not know why that is. It doesn't really make any sense to me, but you know, despite having French family, having a degree in French, I don't understand some of their decisions either particularly. There's actually a very interesting type of 504 that I've seen at the NEC Classic Car Show, and that is the 504 Brake Riviera, or BRV. That was a concept car that has been brought to life quite recently by some 504 enthusiasts, and it's beautiful. So when they reintroduced the 2-litre engine to the coupe and convertible range in about 1977, the engine by that stage had a power upgrade, but it wasn't a big one. It was about 2 horsepower, so the very late convertibles and coupes with a 2-litre engine have got 105 horsepower. You could actually get a 5-speed manual, I think, in some of the V6 cars. There was also an automatic option on both the 2-litre and the V6 cars, but that's a really, really kind of rare thing. Right, I think that's about it from this car that's actually behaving itself now. Let me get back to the future, and we'll have a look at this beautiful old car in more detail.
With anchors tying us to what we'll call home, even if the side of it has not yet touched our eyes. And here we are, and we're together.
Oh, that was a fun experience. Let's take a look at the Peugeot 504 convertible's more practical side
if there is any at all, and have a look in the boot. Like a lot of old cars, this has got lots of keys, which all look kind of the same. Where you open the boot is to put the key in here, hand on the badge, move it like that, and it just comes up. Because this is based on such a large saloon car, and of course the Familial version of the 504 was even bigger, although this is on a bit of a shorter wheelbase than the saloon, the boot's actually really, really big. There's all sorts of things that you could fit in there for your trip down to Riviera, which, you know, I imagine the marketing that Peugeot were doing for this car in the 70s was what they would imagine you'd be doing. And yeah, you can see all sorts of things are in here. One thing is, I've got to make sure I don't leave these keys in here, because if I do, there's no way of getting them out at all. One of the really nice details about this 504 Cabriolet, and I have been saying Cabriolet and convertible interchangeably, I don't know which one's correct, is the rear lights on this early model. The later cars do have completely different rear lights. They've got different bumpers. Even on this one, you can see we've got overriders. And Peugeots were sold in America in the 70s in small numbers. I think they were just looking after their own interest with the US safety regulations. We've even got an aerial here that actually I think is it was electric. I don't know if that actually still works. The stereo in here is a bit later than the car, but it is just a really stylish design. Can't remember exactly how expensive these were back in the 70s in comparison to something like an E-Type. The E-Type was still on sale at this time, but they weren't cheap. One thing that I always get asked to do with cars that have very small back seats on this channel is to try to sit in them. Thanks to Mr. Manning from the Matty's Cars channel. So, Mr. Manning, let's attempt to get in the back. There we go, I'm in. Fortunately, the front seats of this car are a bit more comfortable than the back ones. And we do have a very nice beige leather interior. And you know how much I like those. We've actually got these horrendous thick seat belts in here, if I can pick them up. They are a right pain. But it's okay, we don't have to worry about those now. Key goes just in here. Get it the right way around. On the left-hand side, like an old Triumph Dolomite. There's not really much to talk about in this interior. It's very, very 60s. Obviously, the car came out in 69, so that's not really a surprise. Aftermarket steering wheel, but with the Farina logo, the car was designed by Pininfarina, so that's nice and appropriate. Dials are actually nice and clear. They're quite small, and there is actually a voltmeter in here, as well as the standard fuel gauge and also the temperature gauge. Got a rev counter, which I've needed to use today. Weirdly, on this car, this here is the indicator stalks on the right hand side, which is very unusual for a French car. These are the lights, and they come in this really weird pattern like this. That is off. We've got the side lights. We've got then the dipped beam, and that's the main beam down there. Very strange. Standard kind of heating ventilation controls in the middle here. There's not much to say about those really. This radiator from the 1980s is not a standard one. On some of the later cars, these two switches did something, but on this car they don't. Clock is up here, which is the right time, never mind. Electric window switches are just here. The slowest electric windows I've ever experienced in any car, but that's just the way that they used to be. Wipers, for some reason, are up here. I'm not going to do the glove box today unless I can find the right key for it. 4-speed manual in this car. You could get a 3-speed automatic on the 2-litre engines as well. Massive ashtray because we need something to put our Gitan in. And then just a normal handbrake, thank goodness. In conclusion then, what do I think of the Peugeot 504 Cabriolet or convertible? It's very, very stylish. They're quite rare. They're quite comfortable. And if it wasn't for that problem with the fuel injection, they'd be quite easy to drive as well. Oh, dear me, I'm terribly sorry. My condolences. But according to the master, there are some gaps in the history. Thank you for watching this episode of Tweed Jacket Reviews. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and we'll see you again soon for more tweed suited action.
Here we are and we're together, even if we are apart, and we're together when we're together. Something big is happening.